Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we're checking out the newest plugin from our friends at Black Salt Audio. This is Reviver. Black Salt Audio and fellow YouTuber Michael from In the Mix have teamed up to create Reviver, a multi-band dynamic processor, but it doesn't just do dynamics, and it's not EQ. There's saturation that's going on. There's compression that's going on. There is some EQ that's going on. This is a multifunction transient shaper, but it doesn't just do the transients. It also does your sustain material. There's a lot going on, but very few controls to help you enhance your buses or your mix. And this is also really good if you're mastering to help kind of control some things and add in some saturation. So let's dive into the DAW and take a look at Reviver. So here it is. This is Black Salt Audio and In the Mix's Reviver. It is really simple. There's just about 8 controls on here, maybe 10 if we're really counting. And you guys know me, I like plugins that don't have too many controls because I just want to be able to dial something in, maybe make some minor adjustments, and then move on. I like simpler plugins that allow me to dial this up. Is it right? Yes? Cool, move on. No? Scrap this one, go to the next plugin, try something else. It's kind of helps you push forward faster, and I like that. So with Reviver, we have exactly that. We have limited controls, but high functionality within them. And as usual in our plugin review style videos like this one, if you want to just jump to the audio examples, use the chapters down below to skip ahead. But right now, let's get into these controls. So like we said earlier in the video, this is a multi-band processor unit, and you can see it's split into 3 different bands that we don't know where the crossovers are, but if we use our ears, we can kind of guess. Low, mid, and high, affecting exactly those low, mids, and highs. And if you're not feeling the dark mode that you're looking at here, of course, they do have the light mode. If you come up to the top, you can have a lighter interface, just in case this is something that you need or desire. So the way this plugin works is you just dial in how much processing, and it is kind of like a hidden process between the 3 different bands. But as we engage them and push into them and push them harder, we can kind of understand what's going on and listen to what is happening and how it's affecting our source signal. But again, you're just increasing or decreasing how much processing you're doing on your lows, your mids, and your highs. And maybe you want to do everything all together. You don't have to do this and try to dial them in. This one's at 47, this one's at 46, this one's at 41. You don't have to do that. You can come down to the middle, and this chain button links all 3 controls, and it keeps their proportions relative. So if we do this, we take the chain off, we'll go about 25% on the low, about 50% on the mids, and about 75 or 80% on the highs. Then engage the link. You can see they all keep their relative balance to each other as we're making our adjustments. So you're not going to increase what you're doing on the mids and it throws off what you're doing on the highs. You can have it compensate to add or cut in the same direction and ratio as what you're doing on one of the other bands. But all 3 are linked. It's not like you can pick and choose which ones are linked and which ones are not. All 3 or none of them. Then you may have noticed underneath the 3 different bands are these little buttons. So you have low harmonics, mid harmonics, and high harmonics. And this is doing exactly that. It's enhancing the even order harmonics of those 3 different bands, giving us a very natural and musical kind of sound. And you just turn them on or off. The effect percentage above it plays into the saturation, but you don't have to be doing any processing to engage the saturation. On bottom in the middle, you can turn on or off oversampling, great little added feature. And then your input trim is on the left and your output trim is on the right. And I was messing with this before and kind of just dialed it down a little so that we didn't have that volume bump that you can sometimes get if you're just increasing your percentages or your processing. I just wanted to make sure that my ears weren't deceived by louder equals better. And really, that's it. Up on top, preset browser, but there you go. This is Reviver. So now let's talk about what it does. And we'll get into our audio examples now. And I'm just going to reset everything back to as if nobody even touched it. So here we go. We're basically at baseline here, and we're going to dive right in and just start messing around with these things. And before I tell you after this audio example, try to drop into the comments what you think is happening in the 3 different bands. We know that we're adding saturation with the little fire buttons on bottom, but try to tell me what the 3 different bands are doing. Here we go. Let's take a listen. what do you think it was doing? By the way, this is Behind the Sun by the band The 39. We've used this song a couple times. Once again, thanks to the guys at The 39 for letting us use this one. So what do you think was happening? To me, this is what I hear happening. In the low end, there is some limiting and there's some dynamic control here. And then there's just overall boost of the level. Once it gets to a certain point, it just starts increasing the level. And I'm still trying to distinguish if this is just limited increased output or if there's also some EQ going on. Because it does sound like there's a warm bump in my low end as I'm increasing the processing in the low. And of course we have our low saturation, which is just giving us some extra harmonics. Then with the mids, there's definitely a little bit of compression going on, but it's harder to hear in this song because when I mixed it, I knew that there was a decent amount of compression happening in the mid-range anyway, because that's what I went for when I mixed this. And not a ridiculous amount of compression. But the saturation in the mid-band is nice because it helps kind of just drive it a little bit more and fill out the mid-band. Then with the high band, what I'm hearing is there's definitely like a little bit of lift that we're getting. This could be from some EQ just to have a very smooth top end shelf boost, but I don't really hear that. I do hear some top end clipping. When we get to a certain point, especially in this song, in this example, I'm hearing some clipping when the snare is hitting. You can hear it kind of poke out real hard. So there's a little bit of EQ boost, there's a little bit of clipping, and there's just a little bit of presence added in that honestly I'm not a big fan of in this song. And you probably noticed I dropped that down as this was going on. Maybe brought a little bit back in later. But what I do like is the high-end harmonics. This definitely opened up the top end and added some extra sizzle that I thought was very pleasing, especially when the cymbals were going and crashing out. I went back and forth a bunch of times so you guys could hear a before and after, and you probably noticed that I went in and adjusted the output so that we weren't having that same thing of louder is better. You can actually distinguish what the processes are doing because we don't have a volume bump to say, oh, that must just be better. What other kinds of things do you think that this plugin is doing? So leave some ideas down in the description. So there it is. That is Black Salt Audio and In the Mix's Reviver. The introductory price is $59, but this is for a limited time, and then it goes to its regular price of $100 US. If you want to pick this up for yourself, use the link down in the description, and a little bit will come back to help support the channel. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. You want to talk more plugins or production tips? Jump in the Discord. There's a link down below. Want to work with me on your next project? Great, let's get that started at timflansbaum.com, and if you have a question, ask it in the comments and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.